Story 1. Last night, I heard my own voice coming from inside a house I haven't lived in for 13 years. But the scariest part wasn't that the voice sounded like me, it sounded like a version of me that remembered something I had forgotten. And it wanted me to remember too. The house wasn't mine. Not technically. But I'd lived in it long enough to let it keep a part of me. The door was open when I arrived, barely, just enough for breath to slip through. Inside, the dust was undisturbed, yet the air felt warm. Lived in. A place that was being used quietly when no one was looking. Then I heard it. My voice, clear, soft, calling from upstairs. I'm here. But I wasn't. As I stepped in, my foot creaked the wooden floor. A second later, a second too late, another creak answered. It was my step. Same weight, same rhythm, but not mine. The house was repeating me with a mistake. A half-second delay. I whispered, "Is someone there?" Silence. Then, faintly, there, not echo, not reflection, a reply. The house was learning. A door stood open at the end of the hallway. A door that didn't exist when I lived here. Inside was a small room, bare walls, bare floor, only a single chair facing the window. But on the wall, scratches, hundreds of them. Lines carved in a pattern. At first I thought it was random. But then I realized it was a waveform. A sound wave. My voice, scratched into the wall over years by something that desperately tried to memorize it. On the table sat an old tape recorder. Dusty. Battery corroded. Dead for at least a decade. But as I touched it, the tape inside began to spin. Slow. Grinding. Like an old throat clearing. Then, my voice played. Not from my past. From last night. But I wasn't here last night. My voice on the recording whispered, "Come upstairs. I need to show you something." I dropped the recorder. The tape spun faster. Then stopped. Then reverse spun. Like something behind the tape was breathing. I climbed the stairs slowly. Every step I took, a shadow took after me. Late. Wrong. In the upstairs hallway there was a mirror. But it didn't show my reflection. It showed me, sitting in the chair downstairs. The me in the mirror lifted a hand slowly and placed a finger on its lips. Shoo, I froze. Because I hadn't moved. The reflection moved first. A soft knock came from behind me. Talk, talk, 3 taps. Measured. Calm. Then my voice said, "Don't turn around yet." I didn't listen. I turned. But nothing was there. Only the hallway. Only the empty air. Only the familiar smell of a memory I couldn't place. Then the house whispered in a tone that almost felt affectionate, "You left before I finished learning you." A faint light glowed under the last door at the end of the hall. I pushed it open. Inside, a figure stood with its back to me. My height, my posture, my outline. It spoke softly. "I spoke for you when you were gone." The figure slowly turned, but its face wasn't finished, like a drawing half completed by a tired artist. A mouth too low, eyes too wide, a nose not quite in the right place, still learning. Still shaping itself to match the voice it had practiced for years. Me. I stepped back. It stepped forward, perfectly matching my fear. I whispered, "What do you want?" The unfinished version of me smiled a half-formed smile. To finish the learning. Its hand reached out. The house whispered through the walls, soft as breath. "One of you must stay so I can remember correctly." My shadow on the floor began to stretch, pulling away from my feet, sliding toward the figure like dark water. The figure opened its arms as if welcoming it. My shadow climbed its legs, its chest, its face, and when the shadow settled, the figure became whole, complete, perfect, a perfect version of me. It whispered, "You can go now. I'll stay instead." The door behind me opened by itself. A push of warm air guided me out. As I ran down the stairs, my footsteps echoed normally. No delay, no copy. The house didn't need to mimic me anymore. It had replaced me with something better. Outside, as I reached the road, I turned back toward the house. In the window, the other me waved. My voice whispered from the doorway, "Thank you for leaving me behind." Story 2. They say footsteps in an empty house are just wood settling. But that's not true. Last night, I heard footsteps behind me. Soft, slow, careful. But the strange part wasn't the footsteps. It was the rule they followed. They only moved when I wasn't moving, and they were getting closer. I rented a small cabin near the woods, isolated, silent, perfect for a quiet weekend. The moment I stepped inside, the floor creaked under my feet. Then I stopped walking, just to listen, and behind me, from across the empty room, creak, one soft footstep. I turned instantly. Nothing. The whole cabin was still, like it was holding its breath. I took another step forward. No sound followed. But when I paused again, creak, another step. Closer. I tested it. I walked 3 steps, silence. I stopped, creak. 1 step closer. I walked again, silence, stopped, creak, another step. The footsteps weren't copying me. They were waiting for me to stop, so they could continue, like something was following, at the speed of my stillness. I whispered, "Hello?" Behind me. A slow exhale, warm, human, but no one was there. I walked toward the kitchen, slowly. Silence followed me. I froze at the doorway. Creak. Right behind me. Not far. Not across the room. Right behind me. I felt cold air brush my neck, like someone leaning too close. I turned sharply. Nothing. Just the cabin, dark corners, locked windows, an empty hallway. I whispered, "Why are you following me?" The wood clicked softly, almost like a reply. I decided to test it more. I took 1 slow step forward. Nothing. I stopped. Creak. 1 step. I stepped again. Stopped. Creak. Closer. Always closer. The footsteps had weight. Real weight. Like a person with soft shoes, walking on the old wood. But they never walked. If I did, only when I froze. I realized something horrifying. The footsteps weren't lagging behind. They were approaching me only when I was vulnerable, still, unmoving. I stepped into the living room and stood in the center, everything silent. I closed my eyes. 3 seconds, creak. A step behind me. 4 seconds, creak. Closer. 5 seconds, creak. Right at my back. I opened my eyes instantly. The room empty, but my shadow on the floor was wrong. It was slightly stretched, as if someone else's shape was overlapping mine. I whispered, "Stop." The shadow behind me twitched. I backed toward the wall to stop anything from getting behind me. Creak. The step came anyway. But how? I was against the wall. That's when I understood. The footsteps weren't happening in the room. They were happening inside the walls. Then a whisper came through the wooden boards. "Don't stand still. Keep moving." The voice sounded like mine, but slower and tired, like someone who had stopped moving for too long. I rushed toward the exit, moving quickly, not giving the footsteps a chance. The cabin stayed silent as long as I walked, but when I reached the door and paused to grab the handle, creak, a heavy step right behind me. Not a soft one, a full weight step. I froze. Another step. Creak, closer. A breath on my ear whispered, "Don't stop now." I turned. Nothing, but the doorknob in my hand began turning on its own. I stepped outside into the cold night. The ground didn't creak like wood. It was silent, finally safe. I walked across the gravel. Silence. I stopped to breathe. Behind me. Impossible. Crunch. A footstep on gravel. The rule had changed. It was no longer limited to wood. It had learned. I whispered, panicked, "Please, stop following me." A breath answered softly, right over my shoulder, "I'm not following you." I slowly turned. No one there. The voice continued, "You stopped moving first, and I've been trying to catch up ever since." I ran. Every time I paused to breathe, crunch, crunch, crunch. The footsteps grew louder, stronger, faster. Not following, approaching. Story 3. I never believed a room could just appear out of nowhere. But yesterday, every time I blinked, a new door appeared somewhere in my house. I thought I was imagining it, until the door stopped appearing far away. It started appearing closer, and closer, and closer, and the last time I blinked, it was right behind me. It started while I was brushing my teeth. A normal night, a normal routine. I blinked, and in the reflection of the bathroom mirror, I saw something behind me. A door that didn't exist. I turned around instantly. Nothing, just the same empty hallway. I thought my eyes were tired. Then I blinked again, and the door was there again. In the mirror, but a little closer this time. I stepped into the hallway. Everything normal, nothing out of place. I blinked. A door appeared at the far end of the hall. Old, tall, dark wood with no handle. I opened my eyes wide, trying not to blink again. My eyes burned. Tears built up. I blinked. The door jumped. Halfway down the hall now. My breath froze. This wasn't imagination. Every blink brought the door closer. I wanted to be sure, so I stared at the door, eyes strained, barely breathing. Then, blink, the door moved again, closer, this time just 10 steps away. I blinked again, unintentionally, now 5 steps. I whispered, "Stop." The door didn't move, not until I blinked. Then it slid closer, like it was waiting for that exact moment. The space between blinks was the only thing keeping me safe. My eyes hurt. I could barely keep them open. I blinked again. The door was now right in front of me, only inches away. From behind it, something shifted, soft, slow, like someone dragging a hand. along the other side of the wood. Then, a whisper. "Don't blink again." But the voice wasn't threatening. It sounded desperate, tired, like someone who had been waiting a very long time. I whispered back, "Who's there?" Silence. Then, a gentle reply. Finally, my eyes watered uncontrollably. I couldn't keep them open anymore. I blinked. The door opened. Just a crack. Cold air rushed through. Like a sigh escaping, a shadow moved behind the crack. But slowly, softly, like it didn't want to startle me. I blinked again, involuntarily. The door creaked wider. A hand appeared, but pale, trembling, as if it hadn't touched anything in years. Then the whisper returned. "Please keep your eyes closed now. I can only reach you when you do." I shut my eyes tightly, not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't bear to look anymore. In the darkness behind my eyelids, I felt the door open fully. Floorboards groaned. Soft footsteps approached. Slow, uneven, like someone learning to walk again. The voice whispered beside me, "I'm almost here. Don't look yet. Don't ruin it." My heart pounded. I whispered, "What are you?" The answer came softly, "Someone you left behind." In the blinks between moments, someone who could only exist when your eyes were closed. I finally gathered the courage. I opened my eyes. At first, I saw nothing. The hallway was empty. Door gone. Silence. I exhaled, relieved. Then I realized the house looked different. Walls slightly darker, air colder, shadows longer. And the mirror behind me showed something horrifying. The hallway behind my reflection had the door, the same door, wide open, and standing inside it, a perfect copy of me, smiling gently. It whispered through the glass, "I've been trying to reach you. Every time you blink." I stepped back, shaking. The reflection version of me stepped forward. Then the mirror whispered, in my exact voice, "Don't blink again, or I'll be the one outside next time." Story 4. Everyone's shadow follows them. But last week, mine didn't. It paused. It lagged. It hesitated behind me, like it was thinking. And yesterday, my shadow did something that shadows aren't supposed to do. It moved while I stood perfectly still. It began quietly. I stepped out of my car and noticed my shadow on the pavement. I took one step forward. My shadow didn't. It stayed behind. A second too long. Then it dragged forward, catching up, like someone forcing their feet to move. I blinked, confused, stepped again. Once more, the shadow hesitated before following. Late. Wrong. I laughed nervously. Maybe I'm tired, but shadows don't make mistakes. Next morning, the delay got worse. I reached for my coffee mug. My hand moved, and a moment later, my shadow's hand followed. Imperfect, shaky, like it didn't know what the movement should look like. I waved my arm. The shadow lagged again. 2 whole seconds. I whispered, "Okay, that's not normal." But it got worse. When I stopped moving, my shadow didn't. It kept swaying. Just slightly. As if breathing. That night, I walked down the hallway of my apartment. The light behind me cast my shadow ahead. I froze, but the shadow didn't freeze. Its head tilted slowly to the left. My head stayed still. I whispered, "Stop." The shadow's head tilted farther. Then its shoulders lifted, like it was taking a deep breath. My chest didn't rise. It wasn't copying me anymore. It was practicing. I rushed to the bathroom mirror. I stood straight, perfectly still. My reflection shadow should have matched me. But in the mirror, the shadow behind me stood closer than it should. Too close. Then it lifted its hand. My hand stayed at my side. The shadow hand pressed gently against the mirror's surface from the inside, as if knocking. Talk, soft, deliberate. I backed away. The shadow stayed at the mirror a moment longer before sliding back behind me like dark liquid. The next day, I walked outside at sunset. Shadows were long, stretched, easy to observe. As I walked, my shadow's leg moved before mine, like it was predicting my steps or controlling the rhythm. My feet followed, not the other way around. I whispered, trembling, "Are you leading me?" The shadow paused, then stepped forward. Without me, a single, clean step, and my body leaned, as if pulled after it. Like gravity had shifted. Terrified, I turned off all the lights in my home. No lights equals no shadow. I sat in darkness, breathing quietly. But even in the dark, I felt movement beside me, something shifting silently on the floor, like weight shifting. With no form, a whisper came from the dark corner. "I don't need light anymore." My blood froze. I switched the lamp back on. The shadow was not where it should be. It was sitting on my couch. I was standing. I backed toward the wall, breath shaking. The shadow stood slowly from the couch, but it didn't rise like a flat shape. It rose in 3 dimensions, lifting from the floor, like peeling a sheet off a bed. It gained depth, shoulders, contours, a head. It stepped toward me, not on the wall, but on the ground, a physical figure, made entirely of darkness. I whispered, "What do you want?" The shadow tilted its head, the exact tilt I made when this all started. It whispered back, soft, familiar, "You've had a body long enough. Now it's my turn." I felt my feet weaken. My shape faded on the wall, my shadow shrinking, thinner, lighter, transparent, while the dark figure became solid. I fell to my knees, no shadow beneath me. The shadow, my shadow, now fully human-shaped, stepped past me and whispered, "You'll learn to live like this, to follow, like I did." My voice cracked. "Wait." But the shadow opened my front door, stepped into the sunlight, and smiled. It cast a perfect, healthy shadow on the ground. I cast none. Story 5. People say an empty house is quiet, but that's not true. Last night, something inside an old house said my name. And the scariest part isn't that it called me. It's that the house sounded like it knew me better than I knew myself. I went back to my childhood home after 15 years. The road was the same. Quiet, lonely, forgotten. But when I reached the house, the front door was already open, as if the house had been expecting me. Inside, the air felt warm, almost like someone had just walked through the hallway. Dust floated in the light, and the floorboards whispered under my steps. Then I heard it. A soft sound from the back room. Tock, tock, 3 gentle knocks, not on wood, but from inside the walls. I called out quietly, "Hello? Is someone here?" Something answered. Not a person, not an animal, just a breath, slow, warm, very close to my ear. Then a whisper, "Eth." Not my full name, just half of it. As if practicing, I followed the sound to the old living room. On the table, a radio I hadn't touched in years turned itself on. Static filled the air. And through it, a voice came out. My voice, just older, tired. You shouldn't be here. It said. Not tonight. I stepped back, and my eyes caught the window. My reflection was there. But something was wrong. It blinked a second late. It tilted its head differently. It smiled when I didn't. I whispered, "Stop that." The reflection lifted its hand, but I hadn't moved mine. And then, it tapped on the glass from the inside. Talk, talk, talk. The 3 knocks again. But this time, they weren't from the wall. They were coming from behind my reflection. I backed away into the hallway and found a door half open, a door that wasn't there. When I lived here, warm air came from inside, and a rocking chair moved slowly, as if someone had just risen from it. On the floor was a single note, written in shaky handwriting. "Don't answer it again." I whispered, "Answer what?" The house responded, this time from all around me. The knocking, then the rocking chair stopped. The door behind it shut by itself, and all the lights in the house flickered at the same time. I ran to the front door, but it wouldn't open. Behind me, footsteps started following, slow, uneven, like someone learning to walk again. I whispered, "Please let me go." And the house whispered back. For the first time, saying my name perfectly. Ethan. Then softly, almost gently, "Welcome home." The front door opened on its own. I ran outside without looking back. But as I reached my car, I saw something in the side mirror. In the reflection of the house, someone was standing in the doorway. Someone with my shape, my height, my shadow, smiling. And the house whispered one last time, "You left your shadow here. We'll keep it until you return." Story 6. Last night, my phone rings. But the strange thing is, my phone only rings when I'm not looking at it. And the voice on the other end knows things I've never told anyone, not even myself. I was lying in bed, face turned away from my phone on the nightstand. Then, my ringtone. Soft, slow, like someone playing it on a piano. I turned my head to look. It stopped instantly. Screen black. No notification. I whispered, half amused. Weird. I turned away again. The phone rang again. This time I didn't look. I let it ring. But the ringtone sounded wrong. Like it was being hummed by someone standing beside my ear. I slowly turned my head. Silence. Black screen. No call history. I whispered, "Who's calling me?" A faint vibration came, but not from the phone. From the pillow under my head. I checked the phone settings. No missed calls. No unknown numbers. But then I noticed something. My call log had a new entry. Me, yesterday, 2:13 a.m. But I didn't call myself. And yesterday, at that exact time, I was asleep. Before I could process it, the phone vibrated again, but lying on the table face down. I lifted it. No notification, no vibration history, but the table under it was warm, as if someone had been holding the phone. A moment before, that evening I left the phone upside down and walked to the kitchen. As soon as I stepped out of sight, ring, soft, slow, like a lullaby. I came back quietly and didn't touch the phone, just flipped it over with one finger. A new voice message appeared. From unknown. Length, midnight. I hit play. A whisper spoke. "Don't look at me when I call." I froze. The voice was calm, soft, almost caring. Then it said, "You forgot something." At 2:13 a.m. again, the phone lit up on its own. Not ringing, just glowing softly. A notification appeared, incoming call, me, tomorrow. I whispered, this isn't real. I didn't look directly at the screen, only from the corner of my eye. The phone rang. Slow, almost sad. I answered without looking. A breath on the other end. Then, my own voice, listen carefully. You're not supposed to turn around right now. I froze. Then the voice said, he's behind you. My heart stopped. I whispered, who's behind me? But my voice from tomorrow said, he's been trying to reach you. Through calls, through vibrations, through your dreams. Don't look yet. Something warm moved the air behind me. A slow exhale. My tomorrow voice said, he wants to return something you lost. Silence. Then a soft whisper from behind my neck, your name. I felt a breath shape the letters before speaking them, but my tomorrow voice cut in, don't turn around. If you look at him, you'll take his place. I whispered, terrified, what does that mean? My tomorrow voice inhaled deeply and said, you forgot your real name years ago. He's been keeping it for you. The presence behind me leaned closer. Too close. The phone suddenly buzzed violently, screen flashing white. The tomorrow voice whispered, run. Now. I dropped the phone and ran. Behind me, I heard a soft, gentle ringtone, not from the phone, from the dark hallway itself. The presence whispered, I'll call you again when you're not looking.